what would you say about that? Was it a good experience? Because most of people think like when you are homeschooled, you don't really have that
No social skills.
skills. You kind be introverted, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you feel like you be weird.
Right.
Yeah. She's the exact opposite of that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Not weird. She's not antisocial.
So now,
Thank you.
like, seeing you as a person talking, having all these skills, entrepreneur, being a businesswoman, having all the stuff that you're trying to do together, that just gets my intention or by my attention to be like, what is the pros and cons of being homeschooled?
There was a woman who, we did like these homeschool co-ops, and so you would go to your classes like 2 times a week. It was like a college model. So it was like if you were in college, but it was for high school and, grade school. And so there was a woman who, she used to teach math, and she had actually taught me pre-algebra. And then my mom took me back into the home for algebra 1, and it didn't work out. And so then this woman who had taught me pre-algebra with the homeschool co-op, she had ended up breaking away from the co-op, and she did her own tutoring at her home.
Okay.
And so I ended up going once a week. I did my geometry, and then once a week I did my algebra with her. And my algebra was actually one-on-one, and then my geometry was in a small class of like I think there was three or four other classmates in there with me. And so that system worked, and that structure allowed me to learn my math, and I was able to do 2 subjects in 1 year, and all my other subjects at the same time, and it was totally fine. So I think I'm a person who doesn't really like rules, and I don't really like to be just confined by structures of society and like someone telling me that I have to do this in this order or whatever. And so I really liked that freedom being homeschooled, and it worked well for me. So like in 9th grade, I didn't want to do algebra.
Okay.
In 10th grade, I wanted to do both of them. And
Interesting. So you think it's a freedom? It's not a constraint.
Yeah.
Some people see it as I'm just locked in the house all day. I'm in front of the computer learning. So they don't see many advantages.
Right, and I think that one thing that I've found in my professional life is that a lot of people have trouble with a flexible like work environment or a flexible schedule. So I work for a startup right now, and it's kind of the Wild West. And when I came in and started with them, it was kind of like the world is your oyster, do what you want with it. And so because I had grown up with that same environment, which was here's your school, figure it out. Like, figure out what schedule you want. Figure out when you want to do this homework and when to do that. And if you get it done super fast, guess what? You have so much more time to do anything else that you want now, And so I wasn't, like, thrown into this, like, structured public school, 8 to 5 you're going to school, or like 8 to 3, whatever they do for school. And, like, you have, 30 minutes for this class, 30 minutes, whatever. And then, you have homework at the end of your day. Instead, I could get my school done. If I got it done in a few hours in the morning, I got to do whatever I wanted the rest of the day. And so now working in a startup, it's kind of that same thing where I've been tasked with figuring, this is the goal of like, this is what we need you to figure out. Go figure out how to do it. And I'm someone who can be successful with that environment, and not a lot of employees can. We've actually let 3 people go that weren't able to make the cut because I continually surpassed their abilities. And I was originally brought in at the lowest level. I was below all of them, and then except for one. And then ended up being able to push my way forward because I was someone who could work with very little oversight and very little structure. And I think part of that is just who you are as a person. But I do think the freedom of homeschooling really just set me up for success in that area.
What would you say are some cons then?
Some cons of homeschooling? Yeah, definitely the social aspect. It took me a long time to really, I was super shy, super shy, which is surprising that I've turned out the way that I have. But I remember it probably took me till I was like 16 years old.
Really?
Yeah, till I was like 16, I was super in my shell.
What just
so
I just changed that.
It is funny.
Wow.
Yeah. It's funny. So what really happened was I literally thought to myself one day, I was like, I am tired of not being cool and no one talks to me, like, because I would go to youth group because I grew up in the church, and I would go to youth group and I like didn't know how to talk to people, and like I just wasn't like I didn't have jokes, you know, like I wasn't funny because I was always so serious and I was so nerdy and so in my head. And so I just kind of like, one day I was like, I'm so tired of this. And I was like, the only way to get over this is literally just to put myself out of my comfort zone and keep pushing and keep pushing. And so every opportunity from 16 on, and I still do it to this day, every opportunity I have to push myself out of my comfort zone and make, like, if something seems like that's a little bit scary, like I don't want to go up and like start that conversation, but I should, I just make myself do it. And it's just exponential growth if you just push yourself in life like that. So, yeah. But it was definitely a con. It's one of the cons that you're not just forced into it from the time you're very, very young. You really have to create that environment for yourself.
What would you say to a person if they're even in a public school or private or even homeschooled, if they're dealing with that that same anxiety of not being able to be as charismatic or sure their personality because they're too into themselves and too shy.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person?
I mean, really what I just touched on, which is what I essentially said to myself, was you just have to get out there. And like, you just have to push yourself. You know, it's like looking at a mountain and being like, I want to get to the top, but not doing anything. Like, if you want to get to the top of the mountain, you just have to climb it. So that's kind of, I think, an analogy that applies to a lot of things in life. But yeah, that's what I would say. You just have to push yourself and give yourself some grace too. Like, you might not, you know, hit the nail on the head every time. You might not go as far as you want to every single time, but just each step forward gets you somewhere.
That's good. So well, I'm glad, I'm proud of the personality that you've been able to
She said something that I just really love so much, and it reminds me of this quote that a guy was talking about, that if you are an overthinker and you're going through a lot of things, you don't know where you're going, don't just focus into knowing what is the end of what is going to happen to me, but just think about what is the next step.
Yeah.
Where are you going to put? If you can see your next step, okay, yeah, put your feet on that. Then from there, you will see your next step again. Just go little by little. I just love that.
Yeah.
That you don't need
So
to be
true.
just like containing yourself, waiting, just give that push, give that, tell yourself, hey, I'm going to climb this mountain, and you just go.
It's so true.
It's so inspiring. I love that.